You're not overthinking because you want to. You're replaying conversations because something in your mind still feels unfinished, and your brain doesn't like leaving things unresolved. Even when the moment is clearly over, even when nothing is actually happening anymore, your mind treats it like there's still something important hidden inside it that needs to be figured out. And the strange part is, it doesn't matter if the conversation was good or bad. It doesn't matter if it was awkward, neutral, or even completely normal. Your brain still goes back to it, pulling it forward into your awareness, like it's trying to solve something that wasn't solved the first time. You walk away from a conversation, and at first, everything feels fine. You move on, you distract yourself, you go about your day. But then later, usually when things get quiet, it comes back. A sentence you said, a reaction you had, a small detail you didn't think about at the time suddenly becomes the center of your attention. And now your mind starts running it again. Not casually, not passively, but with focus. As if there's something inside that moment that you missed. Something that could change how it all makes sense if you just look at it from the right angle. You start adjusting things in your head. You imagine what you should have said instead, or how you could have responded differently. You replay the same moment with small changes. Different tones, different words, different timing, as if you're trying to repair something that already happened. But nothing changes. The conversation is over. The other person has already moved on. The moment exists only in your memory now, and yet your brain keeps treating it like it's still active, like it's still open, like there's still something you can do about it. This isn't random, and it's not a flaw in your thinking. Your brain is trying to resolve something it believes is incomplete. But the important thing to understand is that it's not actually trying to fix the conversation itself. It's trying to resolve the feeling that came with it. Most of the time, what you're replaying isn't the words, it's the uncertainty. Did they misunderstand you? Did you come across the wrong way? Did you say too much, or maybe not enough? Did your tone sound different than you intended? Did you reveal something you shouldn't have, or hold something back that mattered? Your brain doesn't replay conversations to remember them. It replays them to protect how you are seen. Because underneath all of it, there's a deeper question running in the background. One that your mind keeps trying to answer. Was I okay in that moment? And if the answer isn't clear, your brain doesn't settle. It keeps searching. It keeps going back, scanning for clues, looking for something that can confirm whether you were accepted, understood, or judged. So it replays the moment again and again, focusing on details that didn't seem important before. A pause in their response, a slight change in their expression, a tone shift you didn't notice at the time. Your brain treats these small details like evidence, trying to build a clearer picture out of something that already passed. But the more you look at it, the less clear it becomes. Because now you're not remembering the conversation as it happened. You're reconstructing it. You're blending what actually happened with what you think might have happened. And slowly, your mind starts filling in the gaps with assumptions. And those assumptions are almost always shaped by doubt. That's why replaying the conversation doesn't bring clarity. It brings more uncertainty. The more you analyze it, the more possibilities you create. And the more possibilities you create, the harder it becomes to feel settled about it. At this point, your brain has already shifted from observing to solving. It no longer treats the memory as something that's finished. It treats it like a problem that needs to be resolved, like something important is still at stake. And the more you engage with it, the more your brain learns that this is something worth returning to. This is how the loop forms. You feel something unresolved. Your mind replays the moment. You try to fix it mentally. It doesn't resolve, and so your brain tries again. Each time you go back, it reinforces the idea that the answer is just one more replay away. But it never is, because the problem isn't that you didn't analyze it enough. The problem is that you're trying to analyze something that can't be changed anymore. You're treating a finished moment like it's still open, like it's still responsive to your thoughts. And that creates a kind of mental friction that doesn't go away on its own. Over time, this doesn't just stay limited to one conversation. It becomes a pattern. Your brain learns to hold on to moments longer, to revisit them more often, to question them more deeply. What started as a single replay turns into a habit of returning to the past whenever there's even a small amount of uncertainty. And eventually, you don't even need a reason anymore. Your mind just goes back automatically, pulling up old conversations, old moments, old interactions, and running them again like unfinished loops. But here's the shift that changes everything. The conversation itself isn't unfinished. Your reaction to it is. You're not stuck on what was said. You're stuck on how it made you feel about yourself. That feeling doesn't disappear just because the moment ended. And until it's acknowledged, your brain keeps trying to resolve it by returning to the source. Not because the source holds the answer, but because it's the only place your mind knows to look. So the more you replay the conversation, the more you reinforce the connection between the moment and the feeling. And the stronger that connection becomes, the harder it is to let go of it. That's why trying to replay it better doesn't work. It doesn't matter how many versions of the conversation you create in your head. It doesn't matter how perfectly you reconstruct it, or how clearly you think it through. You're not solving the feeling by revisiting the moment. You're keeping it alive. The way out isn't to find the perfect version of what happened. It's to stop treating the thought like it needs to be solved. Because it doesn't. That moment doesn't need to be reanalyzed. It doesn't need to be corrected, improved, or understood from every possible angle. It already happened, and nothing you do mentally can change that. But what you can change is how much importance your brain assigns to it. Right now, every time you replay it, you're signaling to your mind that this matters, that this is something worth holding on to, something worth revisiting. And your brain responds by bringing it back more often, more intensely, and with more urgency. But when you stop engaging with it, something different starts to happen. The thought still appears, but it doesn't pull you in the same way. It doesn't carry the same weight because you're no longer feeding it attention. This doesn't happen instantly. It's gradual. At first, the urge to replay it is still there, still strong, still automatic. But each time you choose not to follow it, you weaken the loop slightly. And over time, your brain begins to understand something new. This is not something we need to return to. That's when the pattern starts to shift. The conversation still exists in your memory, but it no longer feels unfinished. It no longer demands your attention, because your brain is no longer trying to resolve it. Eventually, you notice that it comes up less often. And when it does, it passes more quickly. It doesn't expand into a full replay. It doesn't turn into a loop. And one day, without really noticing when it changed, you realize something simple. It's over. Not because you figured it out. Not because you found the perfect interpretation. Not because you finally understood every detail. But because you stopped trying to solve something that was never meant to be solved in the first place. And in that moment, your mind does what it was trying to do all along. It lets go.